Do you know what surge pricing really is and why it happens? Well, today I'm going to break down what surge pricing really means. I'm going to show you why the app uses it and what it means for us behind the wheel. So if you guys would like and subscribe, let's get into this episode. So what is a surge? Now, surge pricing is that little red, actually it's different colors that pop up on the heat map. If you'll see, it'll be red when it gets to like $3 or more. You're just like yellow for $1, $1.50. Then it's like purple or blue for like $2.50. Then it gets to like red if it's like $3.50, $10, whatever. Now, I've seen it go up to like $25, seen it like $30. Those are usually holidays. Sometimes at the airport it gets like that. But surge prices is used by Uber to temporarily increase the fares to draw drivers into certain areas. Now, a lot of you guys used to say, oh, every time I go to a surge, it disappears. Well, do you understand why it disappears? Well, that surge is meant to draw you to an area because either there's an event, maybe there's some weather, or maybe just because the algorithm knows from all the data that certain people are ordering rides throughout that day, or maybe that app is open, so that knows that people are thinking about ordering a ride, but they haven't ordered it yet, or maybe they have it, clicked on it, but they haven't actually decided if they're ready to go yet, whatever. But that's what surge pricing is. So usually, say you have the Jacksonville Jaguar games, right? Those people, when they get out that game, there's going to be a huge surge because you got a large number of people in one area trying to get rides to go back to their hotel, go back to their house, go wherever they're trying to go. Same way with TPC. People were trying to get from from the event back to their hotel, back to the airport, wherever. So TPC caused a high increase in prices. Now, you'll also get at the bars late at night. Think about it. On a 2 o'clock in the morning or 1:30, say 1:30 on a Friday night on Jack's Beach, you got Pete's, you got Surfer, you got all these bars. They kick everybody out at 1:30. What happens? Now there's a surge. Why? Because you got a whole bunch of drunk people trying to get home. And they wanted to stay until the bar closed, or maybe they were too drunk to realize that it was that late, whatever. Now you got a surge. That surge is going to last for a while because drivers have to come pick up people. They got to take them home. Then they got to come back, or they're trying to draw other drivers that are in that area to come over there to pick people up. That's what the surge is for. The surge is meant to say, hey, we need more drivers in this area, so we're going to pay you guys more money in order to get you guys over here so we can complete these rides and make some money also. So that's what a surge is. It's basically supply and demand. There's more of a demand and less of a supply. That's why they create a surge. Now, that surge can be a real boost, but also sometimes that surge could be a warning sign. So I'm going to break down some more in this episode when you should avoid surges sometimes, and also sometimes how you can take those surges from a certain area and maybe take it with you. So I'm going to explain all that. So just stay tuned, guys. Like and subscribe. I do appreciate it. But that's what a surge is, and a lot of you guys get confused with these little tips and stuff that I try to teach you of how you can catch a surge. But I'm going to break that down again, and I don't try to be, redundant about stuff, but really I'm just trying to show you guys like this stuff does work. I do use it. I do it. And why not take advantage of the surges if you can? That's why I did my other episode of how to catch a surge. You can go back and watch that episode. It does help. But that's the difference is I catch more surges than most people because I know how to catch a surge. I know what a surge is, and that's why I'm trying to explain in this episode. So now when you pick up a ride, this is how you catch a surge. You see where I'm at right there? I just took a ride. I didn't have a surge, but I had it paused. It's paused. Now I'm over here by a surge. That way, all I gotta do is drive around the corner and I catch a surge. That's the whole point of using a coffee cup. That's the whole point of, if you don't have a surge, there just might not be one at that moment in time in the area you are, but whatever ride you take, you have it paused, you might end up in an area or right next to a surge. So right now, I leave, I go catch this surge, and I can stay in that area or I can leave with it. But that's the thing is, I can catch the surge because right now I'm paused, I'm not online. So it's creating a surge because obviously there's drivers in that area. They're trying to get a surge, trying to get people over there to complete some rides that maybe people have their app open, whatever it is. But that's the whole point of the surge. So now I just zoom in, boom. Now I'm almost to the surge. All I gotta do is drive up there, drive around the corner, bam, I caught a surge, turn it on, I get a ride. Now I got a surge. That's what the surge is for. That's why I wanted to try to show you guys. I talked about it. That was yesterday. I haven't finished that in the video. I just figured I'd add this in there to kind of show and demonstrate. I've already done it before. Doesn't mean you've seen the other videos. Maybe you don't understand what I'm talking about. But that's what it shows you is the surge is created. It wasn't there. I showed you a minute ago. I had all those things. There was no surge. I gave a ride over to this area. Now there's a surge when I dropped them off. Only reason I know that is because I had it paused. If you keep it going, a lot of you guys say Uber Pet, but you're still online, it's not gonna have a surge there because I'm offline right now. Even though I'm online, I can turn it back on. I'm technically offline. It doesn't count me as going to that area. So other drivers, you guys are online, it tries to, you guys drive to that area, you're not paused. Well, as soon as you get close to it, it's gonna disappear because of the fact that now you're in that area. That's what it wanted you to do. I'm not in line. Now I'm catching the surge. Now you see it right there. Now I'm in the surge area. The surge is about to pop up just now. See how I get in that area? Now the surge will pop up. Bam. It didn't disappear. That's the reason. That's how you do it. That's why I say use the coffee cup, use the stop new request. You're not online. It doesn't register. It doesn't count you as online. So it doesn't go towards however many drivers it needs to get to that area. I don't know if it needs 3 drivers, if it needs 15 drivers, or if it needs 30 drivers. All I know is they're trying to get people to that area because there's rides that are going to be taken. That's what it is. So when you're thinking about a surge, when does it happen, right? Now I just explained what the surge is. Now I'm going to explain to you why it happens. All right. Now say you're at an event like I just explained, your football game, everybody gets out. So you got a large number of people. Say there was like 60,000 people. How many people drove there? How many people didn't? Now all these people are trying to order rides. How many drivers in the area? Well, Jacksonville's a big city, but we don't have that many drivers. So that means there's going to be a lot of people coming in that area. But you got to remember, there is taxi cabs, there's Lyft, and then there's Uber. So you've got 3 different types of services offered that are trying to compete for each other. So what are they trying to do? Uber's going to have a surge so that they can draw you guys over there because they know most of you are going to multi-app. So what are they going to do? Let's increase a surge so that they'll turn off Lyft and start doing Uber. Lyft will do the same thing. Sometimes I'll be at Jack's Beach and I'll just turn Lyft on just to look at it. There'll be a 50% surge or whatever, and Uber won't have one. So sometimes that means there's more Uber drivers over there than there are Lyft drivers. So Lyft's trying to get people, bait them with some surges to get you guys to switch over to Lyft and not take some Uber rides, because they do know most everyone has a multiple account. So most people are doing Uber, most people are doing Lyft at the same time. They'll have them on. That's why sometimes the riders will get drivers that will cancel a ride because they picked up a better one through Lyft on the thing, and that's something that you guys gotta not do because that's not right. I understand you're trying to make money, but if you're going to pick somebody else up or you got somebody in a car, you try to cancel it. Now I don't know how often that happens, but don't do that. Don't leave Lyft on and just because you get a better ride. If you've already committed to somebody, just do that. Later on you can go do it again. You just maybe got to pay more attention. So don't try to stay stuff like that. But weather, when you got weather will do stuff like that. Say if there's a storm that comes, it starts raining pretty hard, that rain's going to actually increase the surge. Why? Because there's going to be less drivers on the road. If it's raining real bad and it's pouring down, a lot of drivers might have a ride or people in their car, but once they drop them off, they're most likely going to stop for a minute depending how bad it is, or if there's a hurricane, or maybe you're a blizzard, maybe you're up north. We don't really get that down here in Florida, but that makes a huge difference. Is because of the weather, people aren't gonna, that normally might be able to walk or ride a bike or have a moped or take the bus, don't feel like waiting, they're gonna order a Uber. That's gonna create surges because now you got more people using the app than you do drivers that normally aren't using it at that time. But there's also certain times of the day that have surges. And if you ever notice your heat map or your map of your area, whatever your design or wherever you're located at, you have your map. Like mine is Jacksonville, so I got Jacksonville. There's going to be surges in certain areas, same times of the day throughout the week. Usually during the weekdays, during rush hour or busy days, early in the morning or at 5 o'clock, there's going to be a lot more surges because there's a lot more traffic. But then you also got a lot more people getting off work that are ordering rides, stuff like that also. So rush hour, stuff like that can create surges also. So a lot of times it's not just events that are going on, it's not just weather, but there's always surges in certain areas throughout the day just because people are ordering the same amount of rides throughout that day. There's a lot of people, you'll be surprised, that use Uber to get home from work, especially like Mayo Clinic. I take a lot of those nurses home that don't feel like parking because it's such a hassle to park and then they got to walk. They just Uber to work every day. So that area always creates a surge at certain times of the day because people are getting off work. So that's why it does that. So you have to be mindful of that. You got to pay attention. And if you notice that app, if you look at it, if you've been doing it for a while, you'll know what areas might have surges throughout the day. Now that can change. Like I know certain areas are going to have surges at certain times just because I've been doing it a while, but that might be Monday through Friday. Then on a Saturday, there might not be surges in those areas at those times of the day because it's the weekend, it's not as busy, but those surges could shift to more of the nighttime. But then sometimes when you look too, you'll see there's surges in areas and you'll be like, maybe there's an event going on, maybe they got a parade, it's during the holidays. That's when you look at Gridwise. Gridwise will let you know what type of events are going on in your city. That's when I use the app, especially with the airports. And the airports can be iffy too, and that's the good thing about Gridwise also is when you use that app, you can tell how many people are landing every half hour, and the airport will get a surge because if there's a bunch of delays later in the evening at the airport, there's going to be our airport in Jacksonville, you got about 500, 400 people usually landing. That's about average. But then late at night, 9, 10 o'clock, there's a bunch of delays. Now you got 1,000 people landing. Now that surge is $10, $15, $30 because you got so many people ordering a ride. But you don't have that many drivers up there in the waiting lot. Our waiting lot, at the max I've ever really seen it was like 45 people. And that's a lot more than what it was when I first started. It used to only be like 30. Our airport really is actually really easy to navigate. There is very little wait time that it goes into it if it's busy or even if it's not busy. Just the rides aren't quite as good. But when you go to Orlando, when you go to Miami, you got 2,000, 3,000 people landing every half hour, every hour. That's a huge difference compared to Jacksonville. But those are bigger airports. They are international airports. So there's a lot more population in that city. Jacksonville is the biggest city in the U.S. land-wise, but we don't have the population that they got in Orlando. We don't have the population they got in Miami. So that makes a huge difference too. That's why our prices aren't quite as lower, like when it comes to payouts, as it is in Orlando, because we don't have as many drivers. So the competition isn't as strict, or there isn't as much competition as there is there when it comes to the drivers, because you got other drivers that are multi-app, and so certain days they might be doing Lyft and they're not doing Uber, so that makes the pool of drivers less, so that might increase surges and different things like that. So with the surges, you want to take advantage of the surges. Now, when you start off a shift, you don't always have to just start off when you leave your driveway. I get a surge sometimes just in my neighborhood, and that's usually times when I would catch a surge $3, $4, $5 before I'd even leave my house. But that doesn't always happen. It stopped after a while. Sometimes it still does it, but it's all good. That's the thing though, is you can drive a little bit of ways to start off to make sure you start off in a surge, because if you start off in a surge, most likely you're going to make more money. Why not do it? But that's also too why I try to say always get that coffee cup, always use that stop new request. So let me go more into that for you, and let me reiterate what I've been saying other episodes. Maybe you haven't seen those yet. I do say go back and watch all those episodes, even watch the YouTube shorts, because I give you all types of information. Sometimes I kind of break it up, sometimes I kind of redo it, I kind of say it a little bit better, whatever, but this is how it is. All right, I get a lot of you guys with the comments talk about Uber Pet. The thing about Uber Pet is I only had 2 people order Uber Pet since I've been doing Uber. So Uber Pet is not, you're still online if you have Uber Pet. So when you're doing Uber Pet, That's why I tried to explain earlier with the surge. The surge is there to draw drivers into an area, right? So if you have the app on, if you have Uber Pet on, and you get into that surge area, it might disappear before you get there because so many drivers got there. A certain amount of number of drivers get there, that surge goes away because that's what it was meant for, to draw the drivers in there. So if you do that coffee cup and you have CarPlay and you drive, you can catch that surge because you're not online. You are online, but you're not online because it's not registering you as an active driver, because you're probably going to get gas, maybe you're going to use the restroom, or maybe you're just taking a break, getting some food, whatever. That's why I say is hit that coffee cup when you pick somebody up, because if you land in a surge area, you'll have that surge when you drop them off, and then bam, now you turn it back on and you got a ride. Now you just got a bonus. That's the smartest way to do it. That's why a lot of you guys, when you say, oh, don't chase the surge because it disappears, that's because you have it on and maybe you're just declining rides or letting them pop up, and then when you get close to that area, it knows that you and 5 other people are almost there. It's going to disappear because it did what it's supposed to do. But if all you guys are hit that coffee cup, or you're offline when you drive there and then you turn it on when you get in it, there you got the surge because it didn't count you going to that direction. That's why I say always use that coffee cup, always use that stop new request once you run out of that coffee cup. Now think about this. If you see a surge and you're in an area and you're like, I don't really want to work this area, but that's a good surge. Well, you use that coffee cup, you grab that surge, and you can go like 10 minutes with that coffee cup before it's going to hit you with, hey, you need a break, or are you going back online, or whatever that message is. Well, if you have another coffee cup, all you do is resume and then hit that coffee cup again. Now you just extended it to 20 minutes or maybe 30. You might get 30, but that way you can go to whatever area you want to go to with that surge and then turn it on, and then you're just going to have to hopefully get an exclusive ride that's worth it. Otherwise you'll have to immediately cancel and kind of play with it like that to get something that's worth it, because sometimes when you take that surge and you run with it to an area that you rather work in, it's not going to give you the greatest ride. It might give you a $5 ride but pay you that extra $10, so that way you're only getting $15, but it's not a far ride, but it's not what you were trying to do with that good surge. So you have to be even more picky when you take that surge and go with you. If you use that surge in that surge zone, usually you're going to get a better ride going somewhere because it really needs you in that area. It needs a ride in that area. And then even sometimes with the new algorithm, it will catch a surge and it'll send you 10 minutes away. It makes no sense, but that's kind of rare. It does do that sometimes. That was just Uber trying to get people to use Uber Priority and stuff like that. So that's why I try to break it down for you guys. That's why the surges are meant to draw drivers into an area. All right. If you use those tips and stuff, I tell you, it does work. It does. I do catch surges all the time. I start off with surges all the time. Now, there will be days where there is no surge. That happens. So what do? I still hit the coffee cup because maybe it'll pop up for some reason. But if there is no surges, then you can't just make them magically appear. There's nothing you could do about it. There was times before Christmas where there was days where I didn't see a surge. Now you can upload your app. I wouldn't uninstall it, but you can like go offline, go back online, do all that stuff, and maybe it'll refresh that app, because there's been times where I caught a surge. Once I went online, it disappeared, so I had to pause it again, and then I went offline, went back online, and it reappeared. So sometimes that app will glitch. You have to be careful with that. But the reason why I tell you all this, why I try to explain what the surges are, why they're there, because a lot of you guys don't understand what a surge is. You just think it's a bonus, which it is, but you don't understand that surge is meant to draw drivers into an area. So if you're all online driving to that area, of course it's going to disappear, because it's met its goal by getting you there. It knows you and 5 other people or 10 or 15 other people are going in that direction. You guys are all online. That surge is going to disappear. So that's why I say, if you use that coffee cup, if you use that stop new request, if you use it every time after a ride, there's more chances you're going to catch surges more often than normal. And that surge is like a tip. Maybe you didn't get a tip, but that surge is a bonus. If I can take a surge ride over a non-surge ride, I'm pretty sure I'm going to take that surge ride ride, because that surge ride usually going to be more money. Yeah, you could get a non-surge ride, it could be decent and somebody could tip you. Yeah, that can happen too, but I'd rather take my chances having a surge, then maybe they tip me, and it being a good ride. So that's why I do all these things. That's why I broke down what these surges are, how to use them. And always remember, not every area a surge is not always worth it. Maybe there's a surge there for a reason. If it's not in where a place where there's an event or a ball game, or if there's not any weather or anything like that, you've got to be mindful of that, especially if you're in an area that you're not used to. Maybe Google it real quick. Hey, what area should I avoid in this city? You can always do stuff like that. It's not that difficult, but you have to be mindful of that. But that's why I say is use the coffee cup, catch that surge in that area that you don't want to stay in, and drive it. You can use 2 of them. If you don't have 2 of them, if you only got the 1, well, get as far as you can, and then you just have to take rides that are going in another direction, or maybe just take something that's better than nothing, or cancel, whatever. You can do all those tricks, all those tips. So I try to tell you this, guys, this stuff. Yeah, I've had people say, hey, well, if you keep saying it, you know, they're going to get rid of it. Well, if they get rid of it, there's going to be another way, because anytime they try to do something, they can't really get rid of the surges. They have to have surges, because otherwise they're not going to be able to fulfill rides, because riders will just be driving all over the place. Because if you don't have a surge, then what reason do you have to go in an area unless that's the area you work in? What air? I mean, if you go into the airport, that's different, because maybe you're in that airport, or maybe you got a reservation. But to go to certain areas, the only reason why you're going to try to go to that area is because there's a surge. So surges aren't going to go away. That coffee cup, people say they don't have it, all that. I don't know how your app is. Maybe you're in another country. Maybe you got a Tesla. Somebody says something like that. I don't really know about that. I'll do some more research. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is the stuff works. Use it. You got nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose by hitting that coffee cup every time till it wears out. Then stop new requests. I do it every time. If you would know, ask any of these people that ride in my car, every time if they look at my screen, they would see my coffee cup is blue. And if they don't see the coffee cup, then it's because I got stop new requests. There is no coffee cup on there. But never do anybody in my car, very rarely do they see me accept the ride before I drop them off, because I have it paused or stop new requests. Now don't get me wrong. Now every once in a while I'll be confused, or I'm not paying attention, I'll forget, but I'll just cancel that ride and I'll immediately pause it or stop new requests, because I'm not going to take the ride. I can't see where I'm going. So that's why I do it too, because that reason, that helps you start to see where you're trying to go. Because I'm not Diamond. I'm not trying to be Diamond. Yeah, okay, I could see all the whole trip duration. Well, I could see that when I start off also with Uber Pro Blue. So if Uber really wanted us to take more rides, they would offer us better rewards. They would offer us better quests, better challenges. But they don't want to do that. They want to be cheap. So we're always going to have to work around it. Work smarter, not harder. That is the goal. Make some money. That's what I try to do. Now, I have been slacking lately because I've been making these videos, so I've been taking a lot of time out of my actual work to do all this stuff. But you know what? I don't mind. I'm just gonna have to kind of get more on it. But hey, I ain't got no problem with it, because I like doing these videos. I like doing all this stuff. So if you guys would help support the channel, you know, sign up for that Gridwise, give it a try. It really does help. Also, if you want to donate to that GoFundMe, if you want to meet up with me when I go on this trip, whatever state you're in, DM me, because I'm coming to all your states. I'm going to be in all these cities here soon. If you guys want to meet up, if you want to be on the channel, just let me know. I even had riders. I was trying to do some interviews with you guys. If you guys want to do an interview, because honestly, I got a dash cam. I see other drivers putting people in their dash cam footage. As many people as you got on your channel, I know you probably have not got their permission. Me, the reason why you don't see anybody on my channel is because all my dash cam footage, I keep it for so many days, then I delete it, because I'm not going to put you on my channel without your permission, because I'm not going to risk losing or getting any type of trouble because I put you on my channel without your permission. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to show you in a negative way. So if you want to come on the channel, I'd appreciate it, because we can help reach more people. We can help do all types of different stuff. You know, I don't like Uber. I hate Uber. That's why I'm trying to teach all you guys this stuff. I'm trying to help you, because I had to learn all this stuff by trial and error, by thinking outside the box. I used to think, hey, I want that tier, I want this. And I used to kind of get frustrated with surges until it took me a while to figure out that I could catch a surge and drive off with it. I literally used to think I had to be sitting there in that surge and take a ride to get it. I didn't know I could drive off with that surge. That's why I'm making these videos, because I didn't know all that stuff. It took me 6 months to learn some of that stuff. Now you're starting off driving, you don't have to waste any more time trying to learn it, because I'm going to teach it to you. So like and subscribe. That helps me push it out to more people. If you want to come on the channel, I would love to have people on there. Let me know, DM me through the website or through YouTube. It doesn't matter. I appreciate it, guys. Like and subscribe. So that's why I want to explain to you also when it comes to surges. Not every surge zone is a gold mine. Not every surge zone means you want to actually work in that area. If you'll notice in Jacksonville, there'll be certain areas where there's always a surge. Why is there always a surge? Well, because there's a high demand of rides, but a lot of drivers might not want to drive over there because they don't want to deal with certain things. That's what it is, and that's why when you're in a city that you don't really know, you have to be careful, because just because there's a surge doesn't mean that you might want to work in that area. It doesn't mean that ride's going to be good, but that also goes to show is why I have a high cancellation rate. It's because if I catch a surge and it disappears, because once I turn on that app, that surge will register me in that area. Once it gets so many people, it'll poof go away. Well, if it sends me a ride that's not that good and I got a $10 surge, I'm going to immediately cancel that ride. I'll still have that surge, and then I'll find a ride that's better fits me, that where I want to go. That's a little trick of how you catch a surge. That's why my cancellation rate is so high. But I'm not canceling on people. I'm not pulling up and then just canceling and doing all that stuff. I actually will cancel because I'm trying to keep a surge. That's why my cancellation rate will be so high. But you have to be careful when you're certain areas. That's why it pays to know your area, because sometimes surges do not mean you want to be in that area. It doesn't necessarily mean there's an event, doesn't necessarily mean there's weather, doesn't necessarily mean that it's worth going to. It just means drivers are avoiding that area for a reason. That's why it's increasing a surge, because it's trying to draw drivers in there because they need people to fill those rides. Every ride that's filled by us for Uber is money in their pocket. Doesn't mean it's money in our pocket, but it definitely means money in their pocket. So if they have to pay us a little bit more, they will do it if they have to. Do they want to? No, but they will if they have to. They can't afford to, because what they could do is they can increase the surge on the passenger also. So they could raise that price on them. They could pay us more money, but they're going to try and get around it by just offering it to you by doing whatever they can. Most people will fall for it. Most people will just take whatever. They'll be kind of happy. Oh, that looks fine. Or they're too worried about their tier level, and they'll take it because they don't want to have too low of an acceptance rate, and they don't want to lose the perks that don't matter. So that's why I broke that down in an episode. But that's why I try to explain to you guys. Surges are great. It's good to always start off with a surge. It's good to pay attention to what areas the surges are in, why there's surges. Sometimes it pays to get lucky to have a surge at the airport. But that's the thing also, is surges on every driver's app is going to be different. You also do have a surge in a rider app, and you have a surge in the driver app. Surge in the rider app is going to be because there's a lot of riders trying to order a ride, so it would increase the prices for them. Now when you have surge in the driver app, that just means we're getting paid more. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting charged more. So you do have two different surges. So if you ever notice somebody has a pin and you go to get to that pickup, when you get close they send you a text, hey, this is my address, that's because they're trying to avoid a surge. I immediately cancel that ride. I understand you're trying to save money, but I don't have time to Google Map to try to find you because you're trying to save just a couple bucks. That means most likely either you might try to scam me and say something to get a free ride, or you're going to not tip me. So I don't want to deal with the hassle. I'm sorry about the surge, but you can wait it out, and I'll explain that now too. So when you see that pin moved and you go through that problem, that means there's a surge in the rider app. I've had that happen a few times, but I don't normally will keep those rides. I will just cancel, because I'm not trying to find you and the pin's way over here and you're somewhere else and it doesn't show you. That's too much of a hassle. It's not worth it. But savvy riders will know better too, is they'll turn the app off and they'll wait 20 minutes to let the surge die down before they order a ride, or they'll just walk a couple blocks away, especially if it's an event. If they walk far away from the event, like maybe if blocks or whatever, half a mile, quarter mile, their price will go down. Same way with the airport. If they walk away from the airport and do stuff like that, their price will go down. So different riders know different tricks also to get around the surge. If they're patient, if they're not in a hurry, there's easy ways to do it, but that's just how it is sometimes. But as a driver, you want to catch those surges. It does make money. So that's the real story behind surges, why they happen, what they mean, how you can use them to your advantage. Drive safe, drive smart. I'll catch you on the next episode, guys. Let me know if you got any questions or any comments. Please leave them below. If you got any more, anything you want me to do that I haven't covered yet, let me know. I will be working on it, trying to work on some reservations, some other segments. I just thought I'd throw this surge one in there real quick because I wanted to explain to you guys why surges happen, what they are, and explain to you how to catch them and take them. It took me a while to figure it out. That's why I'm making these videos. Please like and subscribe, guys. See you guys next week.